not much scaling.
Yeah, if they don't go for another support with a more targeted stun, it's going to be difficult for Lesh and Lina to set up their stuns.
Yeah, that is actually a very good point.
The ease of execution becomes very, very, very high for MVP Hot6. Not very easy at all. Whereas TNC can kind of just run at you with shields and healing.
Yeah, they've got a very scary-looking gyrocopter at the moment, backed up by some voodoo restoration, some shields, and some heals coming in from the Abaddon as well. So it looks like TNC probably just looking for their mid-hero.
This Huskar band, they know something. TNC knows something about Hot6. Maybe we'll see that come out later, though.
Yeah, I feel like people were talking about the Huskar, and I think there's also a couple of teams in Europe who could potentially pick up the Bloodseeker.
Okay.
All right, I'm down with this.
What's the thought process behind the Bloodseeker, do you think?
I want to see Blood Raged, Nature's Prophet, and Gyrocopter.
Yeah?
I think Flat Cannon with Blood Rage and all of his other damage is pretty crazy, and as much as they nerfed the global aspect to Blood Rage synergizing with Wrath of Nature, it's still kind of there. So
yeah. It's still somewhat a thing.
I think it's 50% is the drop-off or something like that,
like
but...
It's been a while since I actually realized it. You don't see a whole lot of Bloodseeker in competitive matches.
We do not, but I actually think that the Blood Raged Gyrocopter is going to be very scary. And in general, MVP Hot6, I mean, what are we looking at here? Is the Rupture extremely valuable? That's what I'm just trying to think about.
I think the Rupture is
pretty good against Lash.
It's pretty good.
And he is the 2 position here.
Exactly. Yeah, he is a 2 position with the Lina support. I am worried for Hot6. I think they have a very difficult to execute lineup. Normally that's not the case when you see an Undying, but when you have both Leshrac and Lina and Nyx Assassin with that no longer hero targeted stun,
they could get run over.
Yeah,
there's a chance.
It's really easy for them to come mid game and just miss their spells and just lose. Which
potentially, yeah.
I mean, they're professional players. It shouldn't be, usually they should hit their spells, but these are particularly hard spells to hit. So we will see how that will go.
Yeah, so let's jump ourselves on into this game. It's game 1 of our 2-game series between TNC and MVP Hot6 for Group A, I believe, of the SEA qualifiers here.
It is indeed Group A.
It is indeed Group
TNC
A.
sitting at the top with 3 points, a 2-0 record, and MVP Hot6 currently tied with G-Guard with 1 point and a 1-1 record. So this match means a lot for the groups as we move on.
All right, so let's lead things off with some very quick introductions. Over on MVP, we have Forev on the Juggernaut. We've got Sunby on the Undying. MP is going to be on the Leshrac. Jerax over on the Nyx Assassin. And finally, Heen on the Lina. Meanwhile, for TNC, we've got Noji on the Gyrocopter, 7 on the Witch Doctor, Teehee on the Bloodseeker, EU on the Abaddon, and finally Sam H on the Nature's Prophet. Both teams making a very aggressive move down towards the bottom rune to begin with, but looks like MVP's train is just going to keep on moving up towards the top side of the map where they're just going to set up camp for the bounty rune there. In terms of early warding, we've got 1 Radiant Ward placed down, I think anticipating an aggressive tri-lane out of MVP, largely because of the Undying pickup. But looks like he's not going to be seeing anyone just yet. And Undying is actually solo in the off lane for the time being. Somebody just getting in position.
I think it's
going
to end up being the Nyx. I think it's like
dual lane?
a Nyx Undying dual lane, especially considering you see the Mango and well, I don't know actually.
All right, so we have a dead mouse for Heen, but looks like he's managed to revive it. So we're going to be able to get going. I think we've actually got a couple of mangoes picked up here.
This is interesting. It's definitely a core. It's a core Lesh here. This is a mid Lesh.
Yeah, no, MP is definitely their 2-position player.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's going to be just a Jerax Undying dual lane with is Sunby normally the 4 or the 3 here?
I feel like Jerax has been playing offlane from what I remember, but not 100% sure.
He's been, if the current matches are correct, he has been playing more of a 4-5 role. So this will be a support Nyx Assassin. I like that slightly better, but they still don't have much of a targeted stun, which is a little bit of a worry for me. But if they can pull it off, it's still just fine, I think.
Yeah, I think it's more about pressure than anything else. Just trying to keep the Gyrocopters farmed down a little bit, keep the support over here, get the stun out onto the Gyro, throw in a few auto attacks, but Seven's ready with the paralyzing cast to sort of force them back. So
I don't think I've ever seen
this
this dual lane in pub or pro. Undying Nyx.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit unusual. Mid has also turned into a dual lane somewhat here, as the Abaddon is actually helping the Bloodseeker out and putting a lot of pressure. Yeah, they've got the shield. He needs one more auto attack, I think, to finish this one. Picks up the point in the Thirst, but looks like not enough move speed to close the gap onto MP, but he's still quite a few CS away from picking up his bottle and did not ferry out a salve. There's actually going to be a TP coming in from Sam H on the Nature's Prophet. Needs 2 more auto attacks or more to find the kill. He's not going to get that one, but this is a lot of bullying on this Leshrac, and not a hero that can cope with it all that well, really. So I don't know what MP's going to be able to do here. Looks like a salve is just going to be ferried out to him, but the Bloodseeker really getting established in this lane.
And we were talking about the Nature's Prophet might be getting involved early. That is the definition of getting involved early. A TP mid at 1 minute and 30 seconds into the game.
Yeah. Well, Sam H is going to have to walk his way back up to the top. Looks like he might pick up an Invis rune for his troubles along the way, as the bounty is going to end up going over to the Abaddon here. And TNC almost playing this Abaddon like people play Wisp on mid. They just picked up an immediate bottle on him, and looks like he's just sticking around for the dual lane. They just profit with the level 2, and the Invis wants to get involved here, and they come charging on an MP. They don't get the damage from the first shield explosion. Second one is going to land, but Tiki not really able to get in position here. They are going to get a TP out of Heen. There's a few more auto attacks come in. Nice follow-up as well with the Split Earth as the Treants look to tank the tower, but it's just into chaos on mid lane. Yeah, and this isn't actually working out all that amazingly well for TNC. They're getting really good farm on the Bloodseeker, but Undying's farming fantastically bottom lane. Gyrocopter taking a ton of pressure. Only 5 CS on him right now. Comes running in with the Rocket Barrage. Jerax might have gone a little bit too far forward, but here comes the turnaround. Misses the stun, however, and they've still got vision over in the trees because of the Thirst. He's trying to juke. But the taking some damage. Looks like Sunby will be able to pick up at least 1 kill, but he loses the Nyx Assassin in the process. And Noji just forced to fight this one out, but the zombies might finish him off. No, the Tombstone fades at just the right time. The TP from Sam H turns out to be very helpful.
That was super helpful.
And that's a 2-for-1.
Not only did they get first blood because of that, but they also got the cleanup kill on the Undying. I think the Gyro would have went down there. So not only did he take a life, but he also saved a life for this TP.
Yeah, and this active, aggressive Nature's Prophet answering our questions about how he's going to be played and getting quite a bit done so
You're
far.
playing it more aggressively than Vici Gaming would play their Nature's Prophet, and that's saying something.
That's something. Yeah. All right. Oh, bottom lane, another little attempt on the Gyrocopter. I think he just wanted to go and grab some boots from the side shot, but he's going to end up paying pretty heavily for it. They do have the Abaddon down here. Just enough mana for the Rocket Barrage. The shield's going to pop as well. Abaddon's got 1 point up in this Mistcoil, not throwing it over to the Gyrocopter.
Another TP from the Nature's Prophet.
And somebody does manage to finish off the Gyro 7s, just auto-attacking away. Tombstone will be able to bring it down. They've tracked Jerax over in the trees, and he'll end up falling. Nice Sprout is going to keep Sunby away from the Witch Doctor. And looks like he's going to be all right. Few more auto-attacks getting thrown out. Got enough mana for 1 Mistcoil nuke on the Abaddon, but I don't know if that's going to be enough for the kill. They do have the cask, and 1 more auto-attack from the Nature's Prophet finds the kill. 2-0 and 2. Double kill for Sam H.
And meanwhile, T was actually able to get a solo kill on the Leshrac in mid.
Oh, damn. How did that happen?
I'm not certain.
Well, there you go. Bloodseeker doing Bloodseeker things. They're still falling behind really heavily in terms of farm. It's only the Bloodseeker on last hit who's really up there. The Nature's Prophet, 6 CS, but all of this participation is putting him up there as well. That looks like it's going to be that Null Talisman Blade Mail build as he starts working in towards his second Null. So really just a run at you all game long strategy from TNC, and we'll just have to see if that's going to work out for him.
I miss this build. I love the Blade Mail Null Talisman build. It's so fun.
I just love when it first started emerging on the scene, and everyone was like, "What the heck is what the heck is going on here?" And then it was
it's like, oh, okay, well, Blade Mail's kind of efficient.
Well, I think it was, so I think the timeline is actually like it starts becoming popular in European pubs,
yes,
somewhat, and then people are like, oh, it's just a pub build, you know, that's the only place where you can get away with TPing right on top of people and popping Blade Mail. And then it started being, I think, Bone 7 to me was, of course, the person who was using it the most. Somebody going to get jumped here bottom lane. Cast does bounce over to Jerax, but they're unable to get the Gyrocopter in range to do anything here. They do need to be careful. Undying dropping pretty low, but he's got a salve and we'll be able to heal back up. But yeah, we saw it for a very long time, this Nature's Prophet build, and then as Nature's Prophet kind of fell off, We just yet if it is going to end up being treads into blade mail, or if he might be considering picking up a maelstrom or
when
something.
you went the blade mail null build, did you normally get we see some action in the river?
Nice stun dodge there from Teehee. Loses the move speed as he kills off the Leshrac, so won't be able to continue pursuit over onto the Lina. Meanwhile, Sam H tanking some damage from Forev here. I think a little bit of missed micro looking for the tree. He's going to try and sprout himself in, but there was a Quelling Blade available. He's now going for the body blocks. There is a TP available on Forev. Seven comes in with the cast. Is it going to end up bouncing all the way back? Nope. And can they finish this one? Nuke from the Abaddon, not quite enough. This Juggernaut just manages to make it back to the fountain.
So what I was talking about before, the blade mail, null talisman build, what was the normal boots? Would you get phase?
Some people went phase, some people went treads. I think it depended on whether or not you were going for... It was like, it depended on whether or not you're going Necrobook or whether or not you're going Maelstrom. Okay. I think that was kind of the, at least to me, the deciding thing. But I think Gloves of Haste, even if he's just going for treads, are probably a tiny bit more efficient in terms of DPS with double null talisman than going for the robe would be. So, or the what is the item that I'm even thinking of?
It's the robe. It's the robe.
The robe.
Robe of the Mega.
Robe of the Mega. Okay. Yeah.
It's just it's a very rare item. Just kind of pick up.
Just casually talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and he's got the robe of the Magi pickup. No, it's not really a.
Yeah, I feel like it only gets talked about in the context of, is this person going for an Orchid build? And that's kind of about it. But anyway, MVP still doing pretty well on farm on all three of these lanes. Experience is pretty much dead even, and only about, it's actually a fairly substantial, wait, is that net worth? So it's about 1k gold in TNC's favor right now. So those 3 kills definitely showing up. The Juggernaut has good farm, so MVP at least looking good on that front. And they've managed to get out pretty early on here and place down their second set of wards, so still good vision around the map. Sam H is going to be TPing out, I think afraid that he was going to get pincered by the Jug.
And here comes Teehee bottom. He wants to get something done. He's got a point in Rupture, and it's off cooldown right now.
Yeah, looks like they're going to try and find the Undying. TP out attempted. Can they burst him down in time? They just barely will be able to. Undying, I think, was on a fraction of a second left on that TP, but Rocket Barrage dispatches of him pretty quickly. And that is going to be a kill down in the bottom lane. TNC bring it up to 7 for 3. MVP look for something on the top lane as they start going for this tier 1 tower, and looks like with the healing ward sustained, they're going to be able to get this. The Treants unfortunately weren't able to pull the creep wave off. It's going to be a very easy tier 1 in fact. They're looking for a tier 1 of their own and a kill on bottom lane. Jax gets stunned inside of the silence from the Bloodseeker, doing alright damage before it comes TPing in. Omni Slash gets used, Lightstriker just barely catching at the Bloodseeker, and he is going to end up being nuked down. MVP bringing everyone to bear to fight for this bottom lane. Gyrocopter firing back with the Rocket Barrage, but MP not giving up just yet. A little bit of a heal from 7, opens up some space along with the paralyzing cast bouncing through. As he jukes over to the side, call down gets dropped. Do they really want to chase all the way into the trees here? Abaddon comes chasing in, Jax is still alive, as is Heen, but Sam H has arrived with the right clicks. The Tombstone is down. They need one more right click on Heen. They are going to end up getting it. 7 will be brought down, and that's a 4 for 2 thus far. I don't think Abaddon's going to be able to escape, doesn't have his ultimate.
And that's a team wipe. 9.5 minutes into the game.
They fought the Undying, and they lost. That was perfect for MVP.
He's got a lot of stacks of thirst going on right now. Forev, unfortunately, not with the TP.
Just gonna spin, eats auto attacks. Teehee gets the first kill. Thirst's a little bit low now, so he won't be able to continue on to the second, but at least turning things around somewhat at the very end there.
This game is going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, I think so. We've seen a lot of action thus far. 1 tower dropping, but 18 kills in 10 minutes. Who can complain? This is definitely SCA Dota right now. Looks like Bloodseeker's going to be going for a Blade Mail build-up of his own. So this honestly looks like it might just be the TNC strat against the Lesh. I feel like they're trying to force MP into an early BKB. We've seen a lot of Leshracs recently getting away with just going for sort of Bloodstone straight into Octarine Core or Blink Dagger, but not really a BKB to be seen anywhere. And yeah, he's not going to be able to do anything against double Blade Mail. Jump on bottom lane, Gyrocopter almost dead, but just skirting away at 45 HP. Looks like not enough damage to bring him down. And that was the first event that he used. Jarek's going to end up eating her up to here. Does manage to run out of the Bloodright. The calldown's coming in. Heen, one last auto attack, just barely finishes him off from Sam H as Jarek's Tried to find a little hidey hole over in the trees. SamH summoning up some treants for him. Actually has Optic Sledge available in 1 second, but it's only level 1. Gets stuck inside of the Sprout, but manages to jump at Teehee. Going to keep on chasing, looking for this kill. And auto attacks or the homing missile would have finished it off. That's a 3-for-0 bottom lane as MVP get sort of baited in by the gyrocopter.
Yeah. Teehee is just not even leaving this bottom lane at this point.
Yeah, I mean, why not? There's action happening here, and MVP want to keep on fighting this. In fact, more TP's coming down. MP throws at the lightning, stalls the push somewhat, but SamH still going to grab that last hit on the tower. And not going to be the Blade Mail build for him, in fact, as he ends up grabbing an Oblivion Staff. And looks like Orchid is on the cards, but he's got the farm, I think, to go for this. It's a really old-school Nature's Prophet build, but looking like it should work out here. I mean,
I like it. It works well against a lot of these heroes. A lot of these heroes.
Yeah, if Lina manages to pick up a Yule Scepter and you get Yules, you can sometimes silence her as you drop down and not get comboed. Same story for the Leshrac if he goes for a Yule Scepter here. If Juggernaut doesn't manage to get to his Manta style early enough, then you can silence him and make him totally useless in the fight, so that's going to be tough for Forev. And it's just more pickoff power, which is definitely what it seems that SamH is focusing on with his Nature's Prophet.
It's interesting. It seems like to me that TNC is really trying to get eyes on the Undying, and they force fights wherever he isn't. If they know the Undying is gone, they will push right into it, just basically run at them. I've noticed a couple of times SamH has scouted out the Undying with his treants and has made certain to ping him. So I think that's the plan, is both teams, I think, want a team fight, and I think MVP thinks they can win the team fights if the Undying is involved. However, if he's not, it's
different story.
Exactly.
Yeah, and TNC see some heroes gearing up top lane somewhat. They're going to come in and push this tier 1 mid. Lightning comes in from the side. They're going to get the combo stunned onto SamH. Going to keep him alive with the Abaddon. Not quite able to do so. The cooldown comes in, however, and it catches a bunch along with the Paralyzing Cast. And the Death Ward going out for Evan Heen. Will be able to kite back defensively for now as TNC are left to focus on the Tombstone. Forev drops the Healing Ward and wants to re-engage 7, standing his ground. And the Abaddon will just end up popping his ultimate to try and finish off the Tomb, but he's also going to end up being brought down. Jerax looking for the kill on the Gyrocopter, but he makes it up the cliff into Fog. Teehee with his Blade Mail going hard, but does need to be careful. Thirst move speed's going to get him a little bit further away. And might actually be able to heal up off some jungle camps and look to re-engage in a little bit, but instead just going to swing over to mid, grab this Illusion Rune, and that might be it for now, as it does end up being a 3-for-2 trade overall, and the Tombstone does a ton of work for MVP.
Even though Undying was blown up almost immediately, thankfully he got his Tombstone up and was able to get some work done after the fight was over. Teehee, though, is putting in some work in this game. 5-1. He's been involved in just about everything going on.
Yeah, and he's got so much farm as well.
Yeah.
He's 1300 Blade Mail. What kind of build do you want to see from him this game, K-Pop?
Oh, God. I'm not really sure what the... I mean, obviously I don't see a lot of Bloodseekers, so I don't really know what the standard is. Sometimes we see Shadowblade, and I think Silver Edge is actually not the worst thing on him, but this is probably not the best Silver Edge game that I'm seeing. Not a lot of great things to disable. So maybe an SNY, I think, is if they're going to keep fighting like this, the move speed's fantastic, the stats are good for him. If he's going to be chasing people a lot, the maim is always good. So I think SNY makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. BKB looks good this game, but I think it's counterproductive when you've got this Blade Mail. So I think just tanking up as much as you can is probably the best call. MVP moving to push onto this bottom lane, but they are somewhat hesitant. There are a bunch of heroes off the map right now from their perspective. Nature's Prophet, of course, is pushing top lane, but that's not at all suspicious because he could just be TPing down to join a fight bottom. And they're actually going to lose their nerve and back heroes off and give away this tier 1 top lane absolutely for free. So the smart decision for TNC to stay in the fog there up until the final moment actually ends up coming up pretty big for them. Jerax is setting up on top lane with the Vendetta, but his Sentry Ward gets dropped down. They spot him. He's making his way over into the trees. Second Sentry gets dropped. Just gets out of range of that one. But this Vendetta is not going to last too much longer, and he will be forced to run back into the Sentry before too long. More pings coming out. They didn't check every nook and cranny. And looks like Jerax is actually going to be able to hide in there for now. No, the Treants get summoned, and they spot him out. He does have a Carapace, but nobody's coming to help him, and he doesn't have a TP scroll either. So this is just a straight-up dead Nyx Assassin. And who's gonna get the kill? It is going to end up being your Bloodseeker as well. Alright, okay, so Nyx Assassin's dead. MVP is still working on this bottom tier 1 tower. Edict doing some pretty good damage right now, but TNC already setting up for this tier 2 on the top lane. There is an MVP glyph available, so I think they could stall until They have their Nyx Assassin back up, but Call Down and the Bloodright are both going to force MVP back. They come charging into the space and drop to the Tombstone to zone back the fight. Yeah, TNC can definitely kite away from it and avoid it for this fight here. The Paralyzing Cast bouncing things around a little bit. Forev locked in place by the Rupture, but he's got the Healing Ward in the trees. And he's going to be okay to just sit there and wait that one out. So MVP, somewhat of a commitment from both sides. There was a Call Down used on the one and the Tombstone used on the other, but it looks like that show of force from MVP is going to be enough to get TNC to at least reconsider and back up.
They also forced the Leshrac TP before he was actually able to take the tower, and Gyro was able to deny it bottom. So.
Oh, okay, that's a pretty big deal.
So TNC, I actually thought MVP would have ended up coming away with that if they got the tower, but vice versa.
Yeah, and TNC, after sort of back and forth early game, are now up to about a 2K experience lead and almost a 7,500 net worth lead, as well as Witch Doctor's just going to be brought down solo by your Juggernaut on the top lane.
Omni Slash, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm just figuring out if there's a rune or something involved, but looks like maybe just ran out of the trees and straight up Omni Slashed him. Poor Witch Doctor.
I think he just wanted to get some levels or some farm.
Yeah, he's actually doing all right on levels. Level 8 at the moment, but farm is definitely the biggest problem for him. By breaking at mid lane, he gets silenced up. That Orchid was only just completed, and TNC come running in and grab a second kill. MP retreating up onto the high ground, but he doesn't have a TP scroll available. And I think he's just going to get chased down here unless he can find some kind of sick juke, making his way over into the Radiant jungle right now. But SamH TPing in already to cut him off. And I think MP, all that he can do here is just end up falling. I was going to say do some damage, but gets Orchided up. And that homing missile is going to... No, not even the homing missile to finish him up. It's just more auto attacks from SamH, who is number 3 on net worth right now. He's got like, I thought he still had really low CS, but 75 is pretty decent. Though the bulk of his farm this game has been all of these kills, 5, 3, and 6 so far.
You know, I said beforehand that like they like to farm relatively equitably across their cores, and that is definitely the case. 70, 76, 75, 72 CS across the 3 cores this game. That's actually really impressive considering how much they've been fighting. The ability for them to really make sure they farm at the same time as well.
I feel like it's somewhat playstyle related in that everybody, when there's a fight, everybody goes, and when it's farming time, everybody farms.
Right. But they're doing that very efficiently.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job of taking the resources on the map. MVP come in, looking for this fight. There's going to be a Rupture over on the Undying, trying to get out of the range of the Bloodright. The Ward is doing good work healing him up here. Stun comes through, but Abaddon's still going to be all right. The Gyrocopter, no Aegis on him. He's going to get bursted down, but Tiki might be able to clean up afterwards. MVP have already lost 2, and Forev running off to the side, getting nuked down a little bit. Nyx Assassin trying to escape. In the meanwhile, Omnislash comes back, but Tiki just takes all the way through it, and Forev is only going to take one more auto attack to finish him off. Looks like Nyx Assassin did manage to TP home in the midst of that fight, and Heen, well, also manages to escape, but it's a 3-for-1 exchange overall. They do end up losing the Gyrocopter, but good fight. The key
cooldowns for TNC are just on such low cooldowns.
Yeah.
Rupture's on a 60-second cooldown. Call Down is on a 50-second cooldown. You know,
they can fight all the time.
Like Death Ward's like their longest cooldown, and it's at 80. Now, I mean, Wrath of Nature's down to 75 now. They can fight every minute and have their entire kit available to them.
And the Abaddon works perfectly for this full 5-on-5 style of play. They kind of got away with it in the laning phase with how they set everything up, and they kind of ended the laning phase really early.
A minute and a half into the game, actually.
Yeah, so like, yeah, whatever. Screw hitting creeps top lane. I'm gonna go TP mid, and I'm gonna try and kill this Lush.
I want to farm heroes.
And this is probably, I feel like this is one of the hardest games that we've seen for Leshrac across any of the qualifiers that I've watched so far. It always feels like, okay, they pick him first 2. He does very well in almost any lane matchup 1v1 that he finds himself in, gets his Bloodstone. Even if the Bloodstone is a little bit late, it's such a big farm accelerator, and he goes on to grab 2 or 3 more items and just totally takes over the game.
Right.
Or at least has a decent game. But no, this game TNC with this Bloodseeker, Blade Mail, and the Nature's Prophet with his very fast Orchid are making life really tough. MP's just picked up an Ogre Club so far, and another 1,500 gold, but definitely not as scary as that fast Bloodstone Leshrac. And if you look at him, he's actually poorer than the Abaddon over on TNC right now.
The amount of action in this game is actually like bewildering. There's been 1.7 kills per minute so far. to put that into perspective, the average for this patch has been about 1.3. For America, is about 1.1.
All right.
So the amount of action we see in this game is just ridiculous.
That's SCA Dota for you. And a TP coming in from Sam H. Sunbee's going to scout it out, waiting right on top of it. Is the silence going to come out in time? Doesn't prevent the Undying ultimate. Nice stun and a combo from Heen. Brings in the Nature's Prophet right at the very start, but they're just going to try and TP out here. The cask's already been used.
Smart from me.
And looks like no stuns. Stuns are homing missile and paralyzing cask.
Yes.
So TPing out is actually pretty easy for MVP this game.
I mean, that's always been Bloodseeker's main issue, right? It's just, see ya.
Well, farewell. This is the third fattest Bloodseeker this patch in Pro Dota in terms of net worth.
And that's already.
There have been 3 Bloodseekers?
This patch, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there's already been nearly 600 games this patch. There's been a lot of action.
True.
You don't think that because there's been so many new versions that it feels like
all the subversioning,
yeah, it's happening a lot. But A4 has been out for a while already.
So Teehee did end up going for the BKB end of the day. It's going to
at 20 minutes. Okay, that makes sense.
All right. So he did end up going for that BKB. He's got the Aegis up. He can kind of just go and do whatever he wants, really. Sam H going to come TPing in, throws out the Sprout Prison Vision. And yeah, Bloodseeker just doing whatever he wants, goes charging into the base, kills off the Lina. Ready to start auto-attacking over under the tier 3. MVP, we're pushing mid in the meanwhile, but they're going to be forced back here. Tombstone placed in a position to try and bait in TNC somewhat, but they just right-click it down easily. Jax goes jumping in. Does find a nice stun to open things up somewhat as Forev now looking for the Omnislash, but doesn't actually have enough mana, needs to pop these stick charges. BKB ends up being used by the Gyrocopter, and between the Urn, the Abaddon, and the Witch Doctor, TNC are going to get healed right back up to full. Another Blood Right to force things back. As the tier 3 has fallen, and MVP with both Flesh Golem and the Tombstone on cooldown are a little bit vulnerable, but it looks like with both BKBs being used, TNC are just going to back themselves up. And they've only got about 20 seconds remaining with the Aegis as well.
Right, and this lineup from TNC, I'm starting to notice, is kind of forced Juggernaut into a suboptimal build. Drum's Manta is not really what we've seen out of Juggernaut as of late.
He needs the Manta so badly against the Orchid, but there's so much AoE that it's not actually a damage item for
Exactly, that's the thing. It's like, it's what he needs, but it's not what he wants. And so forcing a hero to go into a suboptimal skill build to deal with what you have is a very good way to get ahead.
Yeah, and also just, I mean, there's not really any... The Manta is a farming item, but up until this point, Drum is not all that impressive. And, you know, we're not seeing the Mask of Madness that we occasionally see. And I feel like Forev just hasn't really had the opportunity to sit and hit a lot of creeps. Does have the #1 CS right now, but... Yeah. Oh, it looks like Jack's getting a successful little gank off bottom lane. Sam H kind of out in the middle of no man's land, just going to tank a Laguna Blade and die. It looks like that was almost entirely set up by Heen, so nicely played there.
And Sam H, she's going to go for the full Mjolnir after the...
he's got the recipe already picked up.
So maybe be looking to do a little bit of split pushing.
Yeah, you can put the buff on the Bloodseeker as well. And then what do you do? Right, like this Bloodseeker runs in and he's got Blade Mail and BKB and Static Charge.
And you can put the Static Charge on BKB units now, so...
Yep.
It's...
Yeah, that's going to be hard.
It's no fun.
Last pick Bloodseeker working out. Forev going to keep pushing top lane, unfortunately. Well, actually, he could pop the Manta style since the Nature's Prophet is dead at the moment for a little bit of extra tower damage, but there is also a glyph available for TNC right now. Seven comes in, throws out his only stun. Spin TP. They're going to try and do enough damage to finish him with the Death Ward.
They don't get anywhere close.
No chance. Just a little bit of pressure there. MP in some trouble. Another TP out. They really need something to stop all of this. MVP actually just split push out top lane and mid lane. They see TNC heroes, but all you have to do is avoid the Witch Doctor, and you can just TP yourself back to safety. So
yeah, it's kind of what you have to do from MVP.
Yeah, they get the lanes out. They open up their jungle a little bit for some more farming, so they can start stabilizing this net worth difference somewhat.
Jax needs to be a little bit careful. 12K. He doesn't have a Vendetta for a while, and the Nature's Prophet does see him.
He gets the Sprout Vision around the corner. It does have a blink to get out, so even if the Orchid lands, needs to auto-attack him.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, looks like he's going to be sweet. But Jarek's just pressuring as best he can, making some space for the cores to pick up some farm. Forev is going to spot out an aggressive movement here from the Abaddon. And TNC's vision, not all that impressive at the moment, actually. MVP doing a very good job of kind of keeping control of their own jungle, maintaining spaces that they can farm up. And TNC not going to bother with looking towards this tier 2 tower on the bottom lane. They're just going to have Sam H hold things out with the Treants somewhat, and they're going right in to try and grab this first lane of Rax here. It is quite a bit of gold if they can get it. They need to be somewhat careful. Teehee with his Shadow Blade at the ready to disengage. So they're just going to use the Gyrocopter to slow siege this a little bit. Some harassment coming out from Lina, but Jarek's is blinking in. They're fighting the 3 heroes done. Sam H dropping very low quickly, and they're also going to be able to burst down the Witch Doctor. Rupture comes back. Forev has already used the Omni Slash, and it looks like TNC will be able to disengage with only the 1 casualty. That looked like a disaster after the impale from the Nyx Assassin.
But MVP sees blood in the water. They're going after this.
Yeah, they're going to keep on chasing. Abaddon turns around for a few auto attacks, still has his ultimate available. Sam H also going to turn and return fire with his Orchid. They bring down Jarek. Spin comes through from Forev, but Abaddon tanks it and gains some health back from the borrowed time. Teehee and the Gyrocopter still looking great. Forev tries to escape there.
And that's a team wipe for TNC. MVP, they really thought they had the advantage there, but just being able to turn it around, Teehee just came in and cleaned up.
2 buybacks, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to deter TNC. 3rd buyback from the Juggernaut, but still no Omnislash for 70 seconds. And TNC looking relatively healthy.
Now TNC don't have their Witch Doctor. He's been able to make the slow roll back in, so this will be a 4v3 for the time being.
Yeah, I think the Nyx Assassin respawn is the one that needs to be careful of, but the Ranged Rax is already down. It looks like the melee is going to end up following. TNC maybe reconsidering. A few more Urn Charges coming out, a little bit more healing. Rupture on MP, and he's actually going to drop very low, trying to run back to the fountain. The Blade Mail gets popped. He can't afford to do too much damage, canceling his auto attacks, but Teehee still finishes him off, tanks the Laguna Blade, and manages to dodge out of the way of the stun as Jarex comes jumping in second. BKB for the Gyrocopter has that one back up. The call down doing great work. Heen not even able to run back towards the fountain, just going to have to take a little excursion. Stain just keeps on going. They've got the mech on the Abaddon. I think they've still got Urn Charges even after all of the ones that they've used. And where are they heading next? They could go straight into Roshan if they wanted. Roshan into the tier 2 tower bottom lane. It just feels like MVP can't fight them. And this could, in some sense, be the answer to the Leshrac. I don't know if it's necessarily... The most amazing thing is that it doesn't feel like it's even, okay, we had to do something super gimmicky to deal with the lag. It's just a Bloodseeker with a Blade Mail, really, and kind of the playstyle overall. But this feels like even an evolution for TNC of, okay, we'll win the lanes for like 30 seconds, and then we'll just snowball. And
and this is a situation, I mean, why wouldn't a Bloodseeker work in this meta? I mean, he kind of excels in these fights. And there's all of these heroes with such low health pools that it's really easy to get them down to these thresholds that Bloodseeker really excels in. And with the recent buffs, it's really easy for him to get an insane amount of move speed and damage.
Yeah, and especially when you're talking about a hero like Gyrocopter, who in a lot of cases can bring heroes low with the flak, or at least deal decent damage, but not necessarily finish them off, and that's what the Bloodseeker just totally cleans house. They keep
Prophet just ults, and he's got a ton of thirst.
Yeah, and I feel like TNC, they're up against a lineup with all of this AoE, but they've got the sustain to just tank through it. I mean, if you look at their positioning, they're getting hit by 2 hero split Earths, they're getting hit by 3 hero impales, but it just doesn't really matter too much. Jarek's going to get caught here on the edge of a sentry ward. Looks like he just managed to outrange it as he gets sprouted, and he will be able to blink away a little bit further, but the chase continues. Throws at the stun. Going to try and TP out. Will he be able to? The soul burn damage might finish him back in the fountain. It does, it does. The Wrath of Nature bounces through somehow.
Okay.
Wait. How does
that do damage?
How does Wrath of Nature hit him?
It did. I watched his health bar. It took the Orchid Burn damage, and then maybe the Wrath of Nature hit him, and then the Orchid Burn damage did.
Yeah, but...
Or he had still a slight bit of vision on him for a second.
Anyway, MP, BKB going to try and TP out. He got Ruptured, just barely surviving back at the fountain. Healing Ward going to help him heal up along with his bottle, but TNC are already working away at this tier 3, and looks like MVP just can't do anything. Somebody going to try and find an angle to initiate into this fight, but he's already used the Tombstone, and that's on cooldown for 30 seconds. There's Treants to soak up the Omni Slash, so Forev can't really do anything at the moment. And they're just going to have to watch that lane of Rax fall. MP silenced and sprouted. More Rax coming out. He's going to end up dropping as Teehee Shadow Blades forward. They're going to drag the Juggernaut back into the lineup through the Omni Slash as he spins and tries to escape. Ground Sprout is not going to end up catching him. Death Ward thrown towards Heen, but his Glimmer Cape is going to keep him alive for now. But TNC are just diving tier 4s. and they don't care in the slightest.
Just over
Triple
GG.
GG comes out from MVP, and that's going to be TNC taking game 1 in spectacular fashion. What a game.
50 kills
All
in
right.
31 minutes. All right.
We were like, we were looking at China, and people were saying, oh, this is getting really stale. It's Shadow Fiend, it's Quap, it's Clockwork, it's Earthshaker. We're seeing the same heroes all the time. Where's the variety? Where's the diversity? Well, here it is in Southeast Asia. This is where we were looking for it.
Whew. It was perfect.